The second thing is make sure you train them well. If you don't train them well, you're obviously you're
That
going to
is
have a
a train
revolving
wreck.
door.
If you don't train
Yes.
them well, it's a train wreck.
Yes. Yes. And you can't believe how many people put people in place, not just in sales, but in lots of areas in their business.
Mhm.
And they do no training. I actually worked with a business owner one time and I said, well, what kind of training? And it was a particular small business. And I said, what kind of training do you give your employees? And he said, well, I don't. And I said, well, why is that? And he said, well, what if they leave? And I go, what if they stay? I mean, let's like, what's
Oh my
real?
gosh.
Yes,
Right?
exactly. And so if that's your mindset, number one, you're not thinking like a CEO and like someone who wants to be highly successful. If when you set people up to be successful, they'll stay with you longer. They will appreciate you more. They'll be in it to win it with you. People want to feel valued, and part of feeling valued is being well trained and giving people the tools to be successful.
Well, welcome back to the Professional Rule Breaker Show. And I am your host, Kathy Walterhouse. And I have a very, very special guest for you today. But before we go into that, I just want to say make sure that you subscribe because you don't want to miss all the great information and rule breaking thoughts that come from my successful entrepreneurs that appear on this show. So today, I want to start with a question. I want to ask you, yes, you that's out there that's listening, are you prepared to step into the spotlight and claim your rightful place as a leading figure in your field? So get ready to dive into the world of business success and entrepreneurial mastery with my next guest. She has over 40 decades of experience in business and marketing and sales, but also 30 years as an entrepreneur. And she brings a wealth of knowledge to the table. And she helps entrepreneurs achieve their goals and unlock their full potential. So today, I want to welcome Ann Carden.
Thank you so much, Kathy, for having me here. I am so grateful and honored.
Oh, I'm happy to have you. I'm happy to have you. So, you have a lot of experience. We both actually have a lot of experience. We probably
Showing
don't
our
want to
age.
really talk about that, do we? But there's
Wisdom, yes.
wisdom. We have a lot of wisdom. Let's just leave it at that. So I want to know, like, how did you get into the field? Because you help entrepreneurs. Where did you first start?
Yes. So after building and selling multiple businesses for myself, because again, I've been an entrepreneur for over 32 years, built 5 previous businesses and sold them. And it was a very natural next step for me to then start helping people in their businesses. So when I first started, I was working with entrepreneurs and small business owners. Now I work a lot with coaches, consultants, professional entrepreneurs, speakers, authors, people who are wanting to really do bigger things, and but they mostly serve other people in what they're doing. So
So that's a really good field to be in because there's a lot of people out there that need that help. So let me ask you this. What is the biggest mistake that you see when, first off, let's just start from the beginning. When somebody is new and they want to coach, what's the biggest mistake that you see there?
yes, so it's actually where my entire program came from. And that is so often when people want to coach, they think they have to learn something new, get a certification, or they go down the funnel path. The
Mm,
low ticket, create a
yeah,
course,
low ticket.
build a Facebook group, whatever that is. Okay. And so that is the route that most people go down. So like buying into the cookie cutter things. And I have not found that to be the fastest path. In fact,
Mhm.
I have found that to be the slowest path. And so
Yeah.
that is the biggest mistake. They buy into all of the stuff online and they think that they just think they need those certifications, and nothing wrong with certifications. I'm not here to say they're wrong. It's just, you don't, if you structure your coaching or consulting business around your expertise and your knowledge and your wisdom and your skills and your brilliance, you don't need all of those things to get started.
So one of the things that I find is that people really struggle with going from being having a low ticket
Mhm.
thing that they are selling to a high ticket. There's a mindset shift almost that they have to make. And it's like a real struggle, because I think they feel
Mhm.
like they're not worthy of something that's a high ticket, or, that they don't have that expertise. So tell me,
Mm.
what do you do to help people with that?
That's such a great question. Well, the first thing is, I work with people who already do have skill sets and knowledge and experience. And so there are two things. The first thing is, they have to understand what the market values. And when I remember my first coach 13 years ago when I started coaching, and she said, if you don't have a $50,000 offer, you can't sell it. And at that time, I hadn't been exposed to it. So I'm like, $50,000. Are you kidding me? Like, who would buy anything for $50,000? But then as I learned and grew my knowledge and my experience and all of those things, I realized it really comes down to the value and the market that you are marketing to. And so the shift actually happens fairly easy when I show people, when I like extrapolate that value from them and I show them what that value is worth to the market. And they're like, oh my gosh, I could have been charging this all along and I wasn't. And so then it's just getting them a little bit more comfortable with how to, really how to position that and how to sell that. But the mind shift happens very quickly when I walk them through the process and they say, I had no idea. But it makes total sense. So first, it's an awareness. Second, it's really understanding the value to the market. And I always say, look, you're not selling from your own wallet. Like, what you have in your bank account is irrelevant to what you are providing for a business or a profession or whatever that is. And so it's really just walking them through that process, and they shift pretty quickly, actually.
No, I mean, I totally agree. I actually think that it's easier to sell a high ticket than it is to sell a low ticket. Because I think if you do low ticket, you're going to need a lot more people to
100%.
make whatever it is that you want to make, whatever your goal is, or what you have set that, okay, I need to make whatever the number is, 100,000, 500,000, whatever the number is for a year. You have to sell a lot more.
Yes.
But then also people are going to think, well, she's only worth,
Mm,
$200 or $199, or I've
yes.
seen things as low as under $25 even.
Mhm.
But when you almost like, it's like you're switching the mindset, and also probably your market too as well, correct? Because
Yes.
you won't have these ones that are going to be struggling
Mhm.
to pay you the 199. You'll have people that will pay you, $10,000 or 20 or $50,000
Mhm.
instead.
Yes, absolutely. So it's important for people, number one, to know that when they are working with a higher level market, the mindset around money is different. I was just having this conversation with my husband the other day, and I said, I just don't care about money like a lot of people. Like, I love to make it, don't get me wrong. And I'm out there teaching people how to make it. And I talk about being rich and being wealthy. And I love money as much as the next person, but I don't have the same view of it, because I know it can be multiplied, and I know how to make it. And so when you know how to make it, and so when you're working with a higher level market where money flows and they have money and they know how to make money and they know it's replaceable, and that's a really important thing
Mhm.
for people to know, you don't have the same attachment to money. And so it's a shift. It's definitely a shift in your business and in your mindset.
Absolutely. And it's also, I think, it's faster too. They make the decisions much faster
Oh,
as well, because time is
100%.
truly money. And
Yes. They have
yes,
money, they don't have time. Time
yes,
is their precious resource, not money.
yes.
Yes. So they
Absolutely.
do. Yeah, they make very quick decisions.
So so let's say you are an expert in the field. How do you position yourself as an expert in the field? Because that's the other thing that I have heard people say is that, well, I may not have the audience right
Mhm.
now. So how do you suggest people position themselves?
Yeah, so it comes down to, where is your audience and or where are the people that you're trying to reach and what platform. But here's the thing, you need a social media. You need a social media presence, you need an online presence. And the thing is, you have to make sure that your messaging, your positioning, first of all, is the outside perception that people have of you and your brand and what you're all about and what you want to be known for, what you stand for. So if you go Google me, you're going to see the same thing across every channel, you're not going to see much of a difference in what I say that I do. And so that's the first thing, is you want to be positioned as an expert, not a jack of all trades. And so the very first thing is to really establish a very strong online presence, and then make sure that everything's congruent so that people aren't confused about what you do. That would be the first thing. The second thing is when you're playing in this higher level, at this higher level, and people want to know that you're the expert, there are a few things that build that positioning. One is credibility. Have you done this before? How do I know you're good? How do I? And so that has to come out in your positioning. That has to be seen. Like, I'm always posting client results. I'm not out there preaching my own results. This is the difference as well. They don't necessarily care about your results. They want to know what you do for other people. The other thing is you want to build trust. So there's a lot of ways to build trust. Other people promoting you. I'm on your podcast, Kathy. I'm hoping that as people get to see this, they get to see deeper into what I do, how I help, and it builds trust in them, because video is great for that, right? Because you can look into
Absolutely.
people's eyes. It's hard to fake it, right? And so all of those things, there's not one thing, but also having assets like a book, being on stages, leveraging, using other people's audiences, maybe having your own show. All of those things build that online position and strengthen that positioning so that you do shine and look and stand out and look like the go-to expert that you are.
Absolutely. I think, isn't that a really great solution for someone that is an expert in whatever field that they're in, but maybe they've always worked for someone else and they're now
Mm.
coming on board because they want to be an entrepreneur, they want to be a coach, but they don't have that proof of this is what I've done for my other
Mm.
clients. So those stages add a lot of credibility, correct?
Yes. Yes. When you can talk in a lot of detail about what you do and how you've helped, even if you're coming from a career. I mean, CEOs do it all the time. CEOs step into business coaching, into professional coaching all the time, because they're leveraging all of that experience and all of that so-called career collateral. And it comes down to, are you believable? Can people trust you? Can they believe that you truly know what you're doing? And so all of that, even if you've never worked with someone as a coach, it doesn't mean you don't know what you're doing. I mean, just because you haven't coached someone, probably you have coached people in that. You just didn't get paid for coaching. What
Oh,
matters is that you know what you're doing.
absolutely. Absolutely. I think I always say it's never too late and to start. And, when is now a good time to start
I
as
love
well?
that. Absolutely. Yes. Yes. 100%.
So tell me, you have 5 steps to building a high end coaching. Tell me what those
Mhm.
are.
Yes. So the first one is rewire your mindset
Mhm.
around leveling up and really looking to go bigger for what you're doing. Because if your mindset doesn't go to the next level, you can't. And that includes a lot of things. That includes owning the expertise that you have and realizing that there's value in the market for that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is redesign your revenue model. So a lot of people get into their business and their revenue model doesn't support their goals. You mentioned it right at the beginning of this show, and you said, well, that takes a lot of people when you're charging really low ticket. Exactly. And so I always say you want to determine, okay, how much money do I really want to make? How do I want this business to look? How much time do I want to do in this business? And realize too, 90% of what you do is going to be marketing. So when I say time, how much time do I want to spend with clients a week or a month or whatever that is? How do I want my business to look? So if you want to take that business to $1 million, okay, how can you have $1 million business and do it with a handful of clients and a very, very small team and like work a part-time? Is that your goal? Because if that's your goal, that's how you need to build the business. And so understanding what is going to be the business model that's going to work for you. So redesign that business model. If you don't have a model that can take you to your goals in the way that you want with that dream, sort of that dream vision, then you have to redesign your model. And so for some people, this might be you need to level up what you're doing. You need to level up your services. You need to charge 10 times more. You need to work with fewer clients. For other people, it might be, I need to add more services. Like I only have one offer. What are the other kinds of offers? And I don't mean multiple ways that you're selling yourself, but what are the other things that you could sell that are still congruent with that core offer? So a good example, I have my Expert in You Business Accelerator program, and I have VIP days. I'm still doing the same thing with them. I have high level masterminds. I'm still doing the same thing with them. I work with private clients. I'm still doing the same thing. So what I do with people isn't changing. My method is my method, my program or my services are my services, but I have multiple ways people can work with me. So that's what I'm talking about. So first is rewire your mindset. Second is redesign your revenue model. The third thing is revamp your marketing. So when you're leveling up your business, things have to change. Your market may have to change, your message may have to change, or everything that you're putting out there in content may have to change. Your brand has to level up. You have to start using what I call next level marketing strategies. We already talked about that. Get on stages, use other people's audiences, have your own show. Those are virtual events, live events, retreats. Those are all elevated ways to build your brand and level up your marketing. So you want to revamp that when you're leveling up and scaling up. The fourth thing is restructure your sales process, because now time is your most valuable resource in your business and you want to leverage your time. So where you maybe got on sales calls with everybody and anybody that booked a call, you don't do that anymore when you're moving into a higher level. It may mean bringing in someone for sales, but in the consulting space, that's not a good thing unless you're selling something cookie cutter. You need to be doing your own consulting sales, because you're the one that wants to build that relationship with that client. If you're going to close a $500,000 deal, you need to be the one that is having that conversation. And then if you need to bring in other team members or whatever, that's one thing. But you have to restructure your sales. So this comes down to making sure you're in front of qualified buyers, making sure that the people that you're getting on calls with or in meetings with are the right people. They're the right fit. They have the funds. All of those things streamline your time. Proposals, how you're doing proposals. Those are all pieces of restructuring your sales process. At the end of the day, you want to close more sales. You want to close those deals faster, and you want to move on, right? And get to it. So that's step number 4. And then step number 5 is rev up your revenue. And this is where you build joint partnerships. You might do affiliate programs. How can you increase revenue streams and income streams in your business? But you're not really doing more. At this point, you're building a bit of a team. You're actually, in this case, you should be working less. You have revenue streams that bring money into your business, but you don't do the work. And so those are all ways to rev up your revenue. So many people do things the hard way. They're trying to, they think, okay, build, 10 different businesses. And that isn't the most effective way. I say, until you get to $1 million, stay focused, stay on one course, stay on one road, and then you can diversify and step outside of that core business and start looking for, maybe now I want to go buy some businesses, or maybe now I want to go do something completely different and let my team. So there's no right or wrong. This is really these are personal decisions, but they have to be figured out. And it's important to figure them out, or you'll be going down rabbit holes a lot.
Oh, for sure. I think you and I are kindred spirits in all of this as well, too, because I think we have somewhat similar backgrounds. And
It
you
sounds like it.
obviously, yeah, you obviously know sales. I obviously know sales as well. So you said something about the sales process, because I have seen a stumbling block in the past, where when they try to outsource the sales, it doesn't seem to work well. So what can you suggest, as far as outsourcing in some shape or form? That means, when I say outsourcing, that doesn't mean necessarily even going outside your company, maybe having some people inside
Mhm.
your company.
Mm.
But in essence, you're not the front line
Mhm.
anymore, unless it's something that is like exactly what you said, consulting or extremely high ticket item, where there is going to be some sort of negotiations involved.
Right.
So what do you say to that?
Well, in all of my other businesses, I didn't do all of the sales. This is the
Mhm.
first business where I've really done all of my own. Now, I did at the beginning of those, but this is my first business where I really have done all of the sales myself, but I don't work with hundreds of thousands of people. So that's the difference. So what I would say to that is, number one, you need to make sure that you have a team that cares about your vision as much as you do. If they're not aligned with where you want to go as a company, where you want to go as a business, you've got the wrong people on the bus. So the first thing is put the right people in the seats on the bus. The second thing is make sure you train them well. If you don't train them well, you're you're
That
going to
is
have a
a train
revolving
wreck.
door.
If you don't
Yes.
train them well, it's a train wreck.
Yes. Yes. And you can't believe how many people put people in place, not just in sales, but in lots of areas in their business.
Mhm.
And they do no training. I actually worked with a business owner one time, and I said, well, what kind of training? And it was a particular small business. And I said, what kind of training do you give your employees? And he said, well, I don't. And I said, well, why is that? And he said, well, what if they leave? And I go, what if they stay? I mean, let's like,
Oh
what's
my
real life?
gosh.
Yes,
Right?
exactly. And so if that's your mindset, number one, you're not thinking like a CEO and like
Mhm.
someone who wants to be highly successful. If when you set people up to be successful, they'll stay with you longer. They will appreciate you more. They'll be in it to win it with you. People want to feel valued. And part of feeling valued is being well trained and giving people the tools to be successful. So there's that. And then the other thing and then the other thing is having the right systems. And the other piece that a lot of people don't talk about in sales is there a marketing and sales gap? So if your
Mm.
marketing is off and it's horrible and it doesn't bring the right leads, I don't care how good your salespeople are, they can't perform. And so you need to make sure that the marketing and the sales align, and that both of those areas are strong. So the marketing is bringing high quality leads, and then the salespeople are highly trained and qualified to be able to move those people, to the next step and to actually buy. If your marketing does a good job, that sale should be 80 to 90% done.
Mhm.
So
Absolutely.
it does the heavy lifting. And so it makes the sales process so much easier. That's how you close more sales. And then, but really that's it. As far as if you are going to build a team, those are the main drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What about scaling? I think that scaling has a lot to do with planning. So it's almost like the plan that you have in place,
Yes.
and it's a stair step that you
Yes.
take as you are scaling, because you can't scale everything, like go every single channel
Perfect.
all at once. But if you look at it stepwise and take each thing as its own piece, like its own chunk, And once you are done with that, move on to the next level. I think it leads to more success and, quite frankly, probably a heck of a lot less stress too, if I had to
Yes.
guess.
Yes. And you bring up such a good point, Kathy, because I think we're in such a speed, quick fix, get it now, instant society. And the reality, you have built businesses, I built businesses. The reality is business doesn't work that way. And I think people see I really think the online world has a lot to do with this too, because we see it all the time. Somebody fires up a Facebook group, and next thing we know, they're making multiple millions of dollars from their Facebook group. But again, if Facebook shut down, do they have a business? Do they have a real
Right.
business? Do they know how to build a real business? Now, I'm sure they learned some things along the way, but my point being, it's deceptive. It's deceptive to everybody out there looking and seeing and thinking, oh, it's great to know the possibilities and the opportunities. Absolutely. But to realize that sometimes those people are unicorns, and that is not the way it happens for most people. I mean, what
Right.
is it? 87% failure rate, right? For businesses and entrepreneurs. And so
Actually, I think it's even higher than that. But
it might
yes,
be. I
yes.
think within 10 years, it's actually like almost 97% in some industries. I don't know every industry, but it's important for people to know that that's not the reality.
Hmm.
And one of the biggest mistakes I see people make is they don't stick with something long enough to even build it into anything. And I've even had clients that I've had a hard time, especially if they were on the newer side and they were still trying to figure things out, but they never stuck with anything long enough that I felt like I could even really help them because they kept jumping around, right? And I would say until you stick with this and you really make sure that this is not the path you want to go down, why are you keep switching, you're starting back over every single time, and you're putting a lot more stress. Figure out how to make what you're doing work. How can you make
Right.
what you're
Because they
already
could be
doing
like
work?
right there, right at the point
Exactly.
of almost like the
3 feet
tipping
before the
point.
goal. Mhm.
Right. And then they're like, no, I'm going to try something different. And then you're starting
Exactly.
way back in the
Yes.
very beginning and going
Yes.
through all that stress and
Yes.
probably a lot of what I would call like mind trash, right?
Yes.
That just all that chatter that doesn't get you
Mhm.
anywhere. So, yeah, so I absolutely 10,000% agree with you on that, that you need to stick it out, stick it out. Make
Yes.
sure that you do everything in your power to make it happen and exhaust every single avenue. Because a lot of times people say, well, I've tried everything.
Really? Everything?
Have you?
Yes.
Maybe not. But I know
Mhm.
it can be frustrating. I mean, Lord
Yes.
knows I've been there as well. You just, take each day as
Mhm.
it's a new day. Forget
Right.
about yesterday. Take today and put one
Mm.
foot in front of the other and just keep on going.
But here's an example. I'm just thinking about a particular client. And she just, we talked about what she was going to sell and what she was going to start. And she was brilliant in her skill set. But of course, her program was new, right? And so I know what the market values because I'm out there. And I said, you've got this experience. This would be an amazing program for you to get you started. And so she built out first of all, I don't ever tell people to build out the program before they sell it. So she sold the program. She kind of built it, as she was working with these
Right.
clients. By
Mhm.
the end of the program, but she found herself frustrated because she struggled when she got people on the call to sell them at the price point that we had talked about. And part of that was just because it was so completely different for her from any price she had ever sold anything. And she was still not getting the right people. That's really what it comes down to. And so still wasn't getting the right people. So we were working on her messaging. We were tweaking things. So she did sell her program. She had 5 or 6 people that bought into her program. She made about $12,000, but it wasn't at the price point that she wanted. At the end of that program, she discarded it.
Oh my.
Why? She
Really?
said, I might
Oh,
just run it as a something
wow.
people can buy for $500. Okay. And I said, but what we've got to do is keep working to get the right audience in, to get the right audience to see. But she discarded it. Well, then we were starting back over again. And so this happens with new entrepreneurs. And I get you're trying to figure things out, but if you don't, but the fact that she even had sales, the fact that she made $12,000 on that program said there was a market for it.
Right. It's like
But
almost a test market. It's what she
it
was
was.
doing. Right.
I said you got paid to build that program. Now let's level it up and let's make it better and let's bring in the clients you want. But she was like, well, I'm not, they won't pay, 10K. They won't pay 15K for that. They won't pay 18K for that. They won't, or we haven't done it enough to know that. Right.
Mhm.
And so those are things that I love to bring up because people are just holding themselves back when they do that. If you get any kind of bite at all, you've got something. Like just you've got something. It's when you get nothing, when you get crickets, when nobody cares, when then you know that you're not on the right track. But if you get any kind of bite at all, you have to stick with that and exhaust that and put everything into that until you really know that there's nothing there.
Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly. Let me ask you this, because I know that this is one of the things that there are people out there telling you to do. And it is, do a challenge, do a free challenge,
Mm,
or do a, free short mastermind that is a day or something like that. And then at the end of the challenge or the mastermind or whatever it might be, then you can sell them at that point.
mhm.
So, what's your thought about these free
Mm.
courses, free things that a lot of people have been told to do?
I love this question. I can't wait to dig into this with you because here's the thing. I have made a fortune on free virtual events, but, but I know the audience that's right for those. And I qualify people. I don't let anybody into the room. They have to go through a qualifying process. You are not paying with your money. But if you are going to get a seat at the table, you have to meet a certain criteria and you have to go through a certain process. And if you're not willing to do that, you don't get into the room. And so understanding the right strategy for the right audience is so huge. For example, higher level $50,000 clients are not going to go through challenges. They do not
Mm,
have that kind of time, right?
right.
You've got
Absolutely
to
not.
know you have to know where is your audience? Would they buy into that? Now, I will opt in for for a 50,000. I'll opt in for a challenge because I'm a business coach and I'm always learning. And so I'll opt in to learn something, but do I typically buy or even hang out in there? No, no, no. I get the replays. And so this is what a lot of those strategies, they work for very low ticket value clients, the people that have time but they don't have money.
Right. And
That's
then
who
maybe are
those
still kicking the tires.
Yes,
Yes.
that's who those strategies are for. They are not for high level buyers. And so this is where it's really important to make sure that the marketing strategies that you're using are aligned with the audience that you're trying to get, because higher level people, again, they respond different ways. If you're speaking on a stage, they'll become a client.
Oh,
If you're
absolutely.
if you're asking them to give input into a book you're writing, they're happy to get on a call with you. If you ask them to be on your podcast and elevate them, they're happy to get on a podcast with you. And so you have to know the ways that you can reach them and the ways that absolutely will not work. They're not going to go through funnels. They're not going to watch webinars. A high level CEO, if they come across a 10-minute video of, something that you can help them with, they'll watch it. If you ask them to give up their email, they're never going to see it. You have to know this about your buyers. And a lot of people don't. They think it's a one size fits all. That's why all these cookie cutter strategies that are out there, strategies are not business. They're not building a business. They're a strategy. And so you've got to learn these things. If you're going to really work at a high level and build at a high level, you've got to learn this stuff. these are the foundational pieces for building a highly successful business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Anne, let me ask you this question. What makes you a rule breaker?
Mm. Well, I would say, so my last book that I wrote broke the rules because I was so frustrated with the coaching industry and what was being taught. And here's another myth out there. Six-figure coach, build the six-figure business. Okay, six figures is about a 40, maybe 35, $40,000 income, just FYI, it's not a
Mhm.
business. And so I really was frustrated with all of the strategies and everything that I was being taught, even by things that, a lot of things that I invested in. I was tired of people selling their cookie cutter stuff without really looking at, is this the right thing for this person? And just out there to make sales, that I took a step back. I almost actually quit my coaching business at one point because I knew that I could help people build real businesses. And I did not like selling a rinse and repeat 60-day, 90-day thing, and then watching that coach go away and completely go after the next coach. And that coach would undo everything we did. And I watched that over and over again because I bought into you need a 90-day program. You need, learn.
But
And
don't
this
you
was more
think,
when
I
go
was going to
ahead.
say, don't you think when people are doing that, they don't care? They don't care
I
about their
totally agree
client.
with that. Yes. But also people don't know, right? I didn't know, like, this online world, that was new to me. And I didn't like the fact that I was only selling a 90-day program, but I was sort of convinced that that's how you get people to buy from you and in the coaching space. And so that's how I started building my business. But I found myself feeling very unfulfilled as a coach. And I found myself working with people that I didn't even enjoy where they were in their business. So wasn't enjoying my business. I didn't find any joy in what I was doing. And so that's when I took a step back and I broke the rules and I said, you know what? I'm not doing this. I'm going to help people build $1 million business with a handful of clients, with a handful of high level clients, and use their brilliance and use their expertise. And then they can build their second million scalable, like with scalability. And so that was breaking the rule. And even when I did my book, I was very clear about those things in my book and the paths and the like I even called out the industry. I went against what everybody else was out there teaching, and I was okay with that.
That's great. You know what? Because you know your value and you know what works. And so you were a brave soul and going out there and going against the industry, which I think is fantastic. Really, really fantastic. So, where can people find you, Ann?
Yes, if you would like to know how to build $1 million business with a handful of high-level clients, you can book a call with me at acarden.com. But I have a robust YouTube channel. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I have a Facebook group. I am on Instagram some, not a lot. My main platforms are YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So you can connect with me there. I welcome connections. I love them. You're happy to reach out. Reach out to me, ask any questions, or hop into my group.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being here today. And before we finish, I just want to talk a little bit to the people that are out there listening and watching, because Anne said something pretty interesting about one of her clients where she had gotten to a point and she did something and then she quit and she wasn't ready to go to the next level. And I know that you've probably heard me say this before, but you are all very unique and you need to put your gifts out there and don't quit. Don't quit. There's a saying that winners never quit and quitters never win. So make sure that you go out there and you give the world your gifts and really be relentless and make a big difference in the world, just like Anne has. So again, I want to thank my guest, Ann Carden, and I thank everyone for joining us. I love you all. And be sure to tune in to our next show as well. And also hit the subscribe button and tell all your friends about the podcast. So again, thank you again for joining.
Thank you, Kathy. My pleasure.
You're welcome.